All right, hey, what's up, guys? This is Craig from the Easy Company, and I'm going to be windowing a pinhead neck. All right, here's what the customer brought. He wants us to window the neck. A good example of that is on this bike right here. Back in the day, probably in the 60s, I'm not really sure, they started windowing necks to spice up their life. It definitely looks cooler than a stock neck. So let's get to it. All right, John is using the fab table, so I'm using the next best thing, a rolling cart. It's probably it's probably gonna be my nightmare, but I'm gonna do it anyways. What I'm gonna do right now is try and Swiss cheese the window to give me a better outline on the other side of where to cut. Let's get to it. Now I realize that everybody doesn't do this every day, so I figured I'd clarify by letting you know what I meant by Swiss cheese was to drill a bunch of holes in the metal to make it look like Swiss cheese. I use this in this particular circumstance because the angle of the neck and where I'd have to drill, I don't want to just guess where I have to make a cut, and there was metal molding over the original neck, so it's just a safe bet to make sure I don't drill into anything I don't want to or cut into anything I don't want to. First round of drilling, here we are. Here's the other side. I'm probably gonna do a few more holes to guide me along, but I figured I'd give you a little idea of what I'm doing. I also found every single dull drill bit we had, but I'm gonna keep going. All right, I drilled a few more holes, and now I'm gonna get the angle grinder and try and cut along these lines and see if I can get a good chunk of this out of here. All right, on our first cut, here we are. We're getting somewhere. This neck was obviously modified before we got to it. So there's a bunch of metal molding that I have to get rid of before I can even get to the original neck. So let's keep going. Okay, one pile of chips and dust, 500 dull drill bits, one dead battery, a hammer, an innocent bystander, and an almost windowed neck. I'm gonna try and get a Sawzall in here to cut out the rest. Alright, so I did a little bit of sawzalling. It didn't really work as well as I wanted it to, so I'm pulling out the big guns. And I spilt a little bit of my chocolate milk. I'm not really happy about that, but I digress. I took the oxyacetylene torch and blasted through the rest of that was there. Maybe it would have been easier to use that the whole entire time, but I feel like that's dangerous given this is a pretty important part of the motorcycle. I don't want to cut right through it. But I think that's enough for this video, and when I come back I'll clean out the inside and make it look like I never touched it. So come back next week and let's do it. Thanks for watching.